Item 4.1 is receipt of the Lake Taupo Protection Project Joint Committee meeting minutes that were held on the 17th of December. Any of those members got any queries, or anyone else got any queries? No, pretty straightforward. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.2, tender contract for the Turangi Rider Main renewals. Good afternoon, Tom.
Afternoon, everybody. Today's paper from me is the request to award the contract for our next water main project. So just a quick summary, I guess, is that this is we've done this slightly different to previous, largely because it's been sort of 3/4 funded by water reform money from the government. So we're trying to make sure we procure this nice and quickly, because there's some timelines around the delivery of the our spending of that money. So we've designed about half of the project, and that's what the contractors have priced, and the remaining portion will be priced by the winning contractor as we sort of proceed through the process, using the pricing of that we award this on as a baseline. If the pricing does come back and it's sort of not considered, in line with this pricing they've sort of given to win, then we don't have to award any further work to them. But yeah, the work is for water main and rider main renewals in Turangi, as well as some zone flow meter installations across the district, and that's sort of to help us with our water loss program, which we're undertaking. We had a really good response again, 5 tenderers. It was a weighted attributes process, including the 15% local economic attribute, and we've ended up with the winning contractor being Nolan Drainage, who are a local contractor. Pretty positive for them, their first big contract for us, and they had a very good price and some good attributes as well, so pretty positive, I think, for them. So the contract price is $2.137 million. So.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, any questions of Tom regarding this? Councillor Westerman, sorry.
Great to see someone else coming into the mix here with Nolan Drainage. Just wondering what sort of checks you do on previous work experience with that company.
Yep, we've had a bit of a rework with this tender, and that so most of our tenders we have a requirement that the contractor have operated as a head contractor before, and we've been in discussions over the last couple of years really that's been closing the door on some of the smaller local contractors, and so for this project we decided that I guess the scale of it was a bit down compared to some of the ones we've put out recently, which are I guess bigger pipelines, and there's a bit more that can go wrong, and so we opened this one up and we made it clear to the contractors that you don't have to provide head contractor experience for this. But I would say that Nolan Drainage have really do have some really good experience, they just don't have the head contractor experience, so they're pretty much delivering a large proportion of the current renewals contract for Waiatahi, so they're doing a lot of the technical work on that and have been for the last year and a half. So we've been working very closely with them for that time, and we're pretty confident they can do the work.
Yeah, just following on from that, Tom, that's what the question I was going to ask, because the obviously in partnership with Waiatahi, because their vehicles are branded Waiatahi and Nolan. Yep. So I presume that's...
I think it's just linked to that project in particular, because it's a Waiatahi project, but right. Nolan are working on it, so they've done a bit of a partnership to make sure that it's clear that, that they're working for Waiatahi. That's my understanding.
Yes, yeah. Okay,
still separate companies.
Awesome. All right, Councillor Boddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, you've mentioned in the second line down of the background, zone meter installations across the district. Could you explain a little bit more? And secondly, we talk about the funding from the long-term plan. Is that included in the 2.1? So is it actually going to be in two parts until we get to that stage for the funding?
So yeah, in two parts. So I'll answer that in two parts. The zone flow meters are effectively flow meters that we'll have out in our network, and they will meter distinct areas of the network. So if you can imagine, instead of having a reservoir and a flow meter coming out of the reservoir feeding Taupo, and from that meter we determine what the leakage rate in Taupo is, we might as well have a meter on the way into Nukaho that tells us what the leakage rate in Nukaho is. So we can start to determine what the higher areas of leakage are in the network, and from that we can then target these renewals, because we've got this problem where we've got hundreds of kilometres of ageing pipe, and choosing which area to renew first can be challenging. So that's sort of one of, and this is kind of best practice network design and management. So it's sort of something that we're just sort of moving towards. From the funding perspective, so there's $1.4 million from the government reform funding, and then there's $750K that will be allocated from year one of the new AMP. So in that AMP, and bearing in mind this is it's not, I guess, locked in yet, but the 2021 our current budget in this current 3-year period is $2 million a year for water renewals. In the next LTP, years 1 to 3, we're proposing and we're going out for consultation with $4.5 million. So it's a very small portion of that budget, and we won't be awarding any of that work until all that's locked in from, and can be spent from July 2021 onwards.
Very good. Councillor Mack.
So I'm just seeing on here, it's good that if there's any crossover with the curb and channeling, you're going to work in with them. Obviously here, there's no plan for us to see exactly where this is going to be. When it's all awarded, can the TTCB see where this is all going to be happening? I assume we're digging the roads up, are we?
It'll largely be drilling work, so yeah, but there will be excavations along the way, and generally the pipe is sort of drilled along the way. The piece of work that's been designed currently is all on the Taupahi Road side of the state highway. So it's that sort of whole chunk within what is it, also the eastern side, I think, of Turangi, I guess.
Depends where you look, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are the next phase. There's a few areas on the other side of the state highway that we are working together. But we do have some maps that we can provide.
Cool. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. No other questions of Tom? Appreciate that. So there's a suggested recommendation there, and been moved by Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Mack. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Very good. Item 4.3. Appointment of Commissioner, Delegation of Proposed Land Use Consent Building Extensions, a hearing and decision. I believe that Taupō Road. Hilary, good afternoon. Heather, sorry.
It's all right, Hillary's going to come on next.
No,
It's all good.
sorry about that, Heather.
We like to confuse you with the H's.
Very good. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so we've got this land use consent where they were unable to obtain the written approval of their neighbour. So it's gone through limited notification, and we got a submission in opposition, so they'd like to take it to a hearing. To sit on the hearing, we need to have an accredited chairperson. At the moment, Councillor Westerman and Councillor Taylor have been through the course for accreditation, but not for the chairperson qualification. So our practice tool in recent years is we've had limited notification. We've only appointed one commissioner who holds the chairperson qualification, and that's a little bit related to cost and the scale and nature of the limited notification. So that's what we'd like to recommend, given we don't have the chairperson qualification in our councillors, that we appoint a independent commissioner, and I've recommended there that we appoint Mr. Bill Wasley, who is available for that position.
Thanks very much, Heather. Appreciate that. Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you, Heather. How long do these sort of or this type of resource consent hearing take?
It's usually, the nature of this one would probably be 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, right. Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. I just noticed that Mr. Wolseley is a commissioner in Tauranga City Council, so I just wondered.
Yes, so I checked in with him with
Okay.
his recent appointment to that position, and he's assured me that that's more of a part-time, and he will have availability and he can take this on. Yeah.
What, the Tauronga's part-time or?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. Interesting. Okay, yeah, that was one of the questions that I was going to ask, so thank you, Councillor Park. Councillor Leonard. What was that name? Sorry. Trumpet. Okay. I might remember that for future potential, but no doubt these councillors that the school will be upskilling to the chairmanship role next. Be a good little project for them. Are you listening, Councillor Taylor? No. Councillor Body.
Just very quickly, this, we don't get many of these come before us. This funding for this is by the applicant.
That's correct, it's user pays.
Thank you.
Cool. No other comments? Okay, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Eva. All right, recommendation there that we appoint Mr. Bill Wasley, who's done a lot of work for us in the past and very well respected. So fully endorse that. I have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. 4.4. Agreed. Yeah, good. We presume he's agreed with everything up to now. All right, 4.4, we have Hillary this time. Delegation for hearing of the Nukaho private plan change.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Hillary.
So just a couple of things to note here. So this is under the JMA agreement, but with a modified arrangement for 3 commissioners rather than 5, as the JMA sets out. Just a little bit of an update. We have had confirmation from Tūwhare Toa, recommended independent commissioner Dale Hunia, who can sit in that position. So basically that's the second bullet point, the Tūwhare Toa selected commissioner. So today I'm just looking for volunteers, I guess, for the TDC commissioner. The similar sort of conversation actually. We will need to have a chairperson, obviously. Although Dale has her chairperson's qualifications, she has said that she would prefer that another chairperson was selected. So the third commissioner would need to be a chairperson as well. I also just wanted to note in terms of the recommendation that this is for hearing consideration and recommendation of the decision for Plan Change 37. So that would come, the recommendation would come back to full council for endorsement at that point.
Okay, thanks, Hillary. All right, any other questions of Hillary? Any questions of Hillary, sorry?
No questions. I was just going to nominate Councillor Kevin Taylor as the Taupō District Council rep.
Yep, okay, thank you. Councillor Taylor, will you accept that nomination?
Yeah, I'm happy to accept.
Good, thank you very much, Councillor Taylor. All right, any other questions or queries of Hillary? Okay, we might slip that in there. Thanks very much, Shani. The recommendation that we appoint Councillor Taylor, or one there, and then you'll get this confirmed, the third commissioner confirmed.
Yeah,
later
so
on.
the process under the JMA is that the first 2 commissioners then get together and select the third commissioner.
Right, okay, cool. All right, thank you very much. Can I have a mover, please? Been moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Body, sorry. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thanks, Hillary. 4.5, submission on the local electoral Māori wards and Māori constituencies amendment bill. Order. Good afternoon, Dylan.
I'm not Sue Mavey, Your Worship.
No. was going to say.
Tēnā koutou. So this is the submission that was made by officers to the local electoral Māori wards and Māori constituencies amendment bill. This was the item that was circulated for your comment and or review. This is now the formal receipt of the submission by council. I'll take the paper as read and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Any questions or queries of Dylan? Yes, Councillor Body?
Mr. Chairman, just in regards to this submission, I was concerned to read on the last page, about the second to last paragraph down, with comments that are made that I don't know whether they can be proven or not. They could be well assumptions. When you see words like cause community division and animosity, I'm not sure where that sort of comment would be based on. You have a right to do what the council did, but I would not be able to accept it with that sort of wording that actually is divisionary rather than making us collective. So if an amendment was made with that para moved away, I would accept the submission.
I think we possibly note it, Councillor. We've already presented the submission, so is there a possibility to...
So there's two recommendations before you for your consideration in this paper. One is to accept it and or make any amendments. You can make it. However, as you do note, Your Worship, it has been presented to the Māori Affairs Select Committee already.
Cool. Any other councillors? Councillor Williamson. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, personally, I believe it fairly and accurately expresses, the intent, so I'm happy to accept the recommendation. But to me, so I think it was a fair submission, fairly accurately demonstrates the actual goodwill or intent of the actual letter.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Any other comments? So you're prepared to move the first recommendation? Okay. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Park. Anyone want to speak again? Well, the council body has spoken against it, but I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against?
Aye.
I wondered what that noise was. Council body recorded, no problem, council body. The recommendation is carried. Just the first part, Shani, obviously. Thank you.
So that's endorses?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm here for the next one too, Your Worship.
4.6, appointment of Māori representation on the working party members.
So, as per the item, Your Worship, the working party is to assist in the development of options for the so Māori wards and or some way for iwi to participate in local government decision making. That was agreed in conversations had since 2017. The working party is the next step, so seeks unbudgeted expenditure of $8,000, and with that $8,000 would then be paid towards those members who I'm asking that you appoint, and then allow us to remunerate as per our policy.
Okay, you've got some suggested names there.
So the process for the appointment of these names, they have nominations have been called from within the Māori community. These ladies, I'll note they are all ladies, have put their names forward and are agreeing to participate in the process and come from pan-tribal entities and also Māori members of the Māori community, not solely attached to any one particular iwi.
Okay, good. Any questions or queries of Mr. Taho? Councillor Body.
Very quickly, it's a pity, Mr. Chairman, that this wasn't done 6 years ago. I have no problems with what's before us at the moment. My question is, will these meetings be open to the general public?
As far as I know, I can't answer that. I would expect that they would be though, but certainly the working party have a job to get on with. So I would be expecting that it's a normal workshop. I don't think they're closed.
I raised that question, Mr. Chairman, because of public funds. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Councillor Body. All right, any other questions or queries on that? Okay, there's a recommendation there that those people be appointed. Maria Nipia, Tina Perot, Naturu Wall, Deb Davies, Judy Harris, Memory Tawhiti, Cherie Darlington, Michelle Phillips, Willow Salvador, and a nominee of Te Kotakiatanga, o Tūwharetoa, to the Māori Representation Working Party. And we approve the unbudgeted expenditure. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Guy, seconded by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you very much, Dylan. 4.7, Council's January Performance Report. Mr. Gareth Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the first performance report of the year. So in my covering report there, I just talk about the summer that we've had. Councillors, you had the police in earlier, and obviously they talked about the good behaviour that happened over the summer period, which was pleasing. It was also a very busy Christmas period, as we had anticipated. But also just want to make the point there that obviously there are some significant effects being felt as a result of COVID. And for example, I think the accommodation sector, the recent stats show that they're about 40% behind normal at this time of the year. So there's certainly, whilst there's some parts of the economy are doing really well, there are parts which obviously are struggling as well. For us as a council, we're full guns blazing, full speed ahead. In particular, our development across the district has been massive, and you'll see the stats there around the number of building consents and building inspections that we've undertaken through this half of the year. So 776 new building consents, which is a record for us. Just noting there a question which came up earlier from councillors around the assurance that we can provide that those building consents are being done in a way which mitigates any risk for us going forward. And I guess the sentence there at the bottom of that paragraph about our Building Consent Authority accreditation, which is due at the end of this month, should provide you with some assurance that our processes are fair and strong. So that report will come through in the first quarter of this year, and we'll report that back through to the Risk and Assurance Committee at that point. In terms of other good news, obviously you're aware of the Contact Energy announcement around Tauhara 2. I've included that in there because obviously that's not something that comes up in the rest of the agenda, but I think it's something clearly that we need to celebrate as a district. It's a $580 million build, but probably more excitingly is around 500 jobs created locally for that project. So thinking of COVID and the effects of that, here's one single project which will have a significant mitigating factor, so that's incredibly exciting for us going forward. Further to that, I guess the other money that we were successful on getting from central government around the town centre transformation project, as well as the Turangi Curb and Channel funding and the Taupo pathway funding is all underway. There's some pretty key pivotal decisions that the different groups are making, that both the town centre steering committee, which is 4 councillors are involved in, and the Turangi board in terms of the Curb and Channel project. So some really big decisions in there, and obviously under a lot of pressure to be able to deliver that money, deliver those projects and spend that money very quickly. So unless there's any other questions or any questions of me, Your Worship, I'll hand over to Alan to start taking us through the report itself.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Green. Any questions of Gareth? No? Great. All right, Mr. Menhanant, Treasury Report.
Yeah, thank you. It's a challenge in the month of February to actually produce financials at all. By the time we cut off for as far as setting the accruals for the month, and within a week we actually have to produce financials for council. But in saying that, we're pretty confident that the numbers look right. What we actually haven't been able to do is, you'll see there that we've accounted for the CIP funding of 4.16 million, but then on the personnel costs we show 500,000 as being an unfavourable variance. What we haven't been able to do is capitalise all the staff time that has gone into the CIP program and shift it from being a personal cost expense into the offset against the CIP funding. This is the crazy thing about grants that we receive. They come in as revenue and they go out as capital expenditure. And the one that always sticks in my mind was the building of the ETA, where we got 75 million that came into our revenue line, but it all went out as capital expenditure, so we ended up with these massive surpluses from an accounting basis. So as you can see here, we're showing 8.7 million favourable variance as far as our actual performance against budget. Half of that is the CIP funding, and according to Mr. Strongman, there's another 5 million just about ready to flow into the books. So you can see how, from a financial reporting basis, it sort of distorts the numbers. But if we look behind that, we're still looking very favourable as far as the financial performance of council year to date. And I suppose that is partly the total financial strength of the council is recognised by Standard & Poor's yesterday, increasing our credit rating to AA+, which equals what the sovereign rating or the rating for New Zealand is. And so that is also taken into account what's in our draft long-term plan. So it's not as if it's historic, it's future focused as well. And then from a investment perspective, with the OCR rate still at 0.25%, we have still managed to achieve an investment return on the TL fund of over 3%. So things are looking good at this particular point of time.
Thanks very much, Alan. And yeah, congratulations to the team to get that increase from Standard & Poor's. That's great stuff, and truly appreciated. So, any questions of Alan? No, I think it's because it's such a good report, Alan, and it's good news. 3% is good in this day and age, that's for sure. Obviously, going forward, we can only hope that return will keep there. But yeah, it's wonderful. Would there be many councils in New Zealand would have the AA+?
No, there are some that have had reductions in their S&P ratings.
Right.
Basically, we cannot be higher than the sovereign rating, which is the New Zealand rating.
Yes.
And because that increased yesterday, Standard & Poor's increased ours to equal it. But we cannot be higher.
Okay. So you're saying we should be AA++?
Let's just be grateful for being AA+.
True. Okay, thanks very much, Alan. Right, on to the next one, which is democracy and planning. Tina.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing much in terms of the finances there, pretty much on track, and happy to take any questions regarding the projects. They've all been updated. Most of them refer to the LTP with the policies. We've done the review of the grants and partnership recently at a workshop. Yeah, so that's nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tina. Any questions of Tina? Community services. Who is that? Oh.
So Brian's not here, so I can probably take you through it, but it's pretty much always as reported there, all on budget. There is a slight change in the operating expenditure, and I'm just looking at what that is. That is professional fees above budget and personnel costs above budget due to the high volume of building and resource consents that I mentioned before. So there's the income line that matches that as well.
Okay, no questions. Dog control, it's all good. Yep, okay. All right, no questions of that one. Community facilities.
That one's me, Your Worship. So we have we're slightly ahead of budget on our year-to-dates, recognising also that COVID approaching. We are a little bit last year's COVID event, we're a little bit down on the same time last year. So for us, we've got one little variance, which is a $100,000 donation made by King of the Ring, 100% Lake Taupo. which is in support of our Tongariro playground development. So that's where the $100,000 has been supported. Other than that, our projects are in there. We're just wrapping up the last bits of the pathway, and you'll see there's other projects there as well that have been progressing through, including the private pools at AC Buzz.
Very good. Any questions, Mr. Tahoe? Councillor Boddy.
Probably Mr. Manhattan might be able to help me on this one again. Community facilities at the right of the page has got capital expenditure 3.2, which would be to date. It then states full year budget 28.5. Yet I think last month it was 15.5, and that happens in a couple of the cost centres. There's a difference in some of those columns, and I'm just wondering why. Through Mr. Chairman, if we very quickly went to transport, the full year budget there is shown at 30.2. It's now, or was 37.8. Would that be CPI as well?
We will look into that and come back to you. I don't have that information at my fingertips. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Any other questions of Dylan? Oh, sorry, the playground, Dylan. I might have missed it earlier. Whereabouts are we at with that?
We're in the final stages of design. Everything's arrived.
Right.
We were hoping to do it before Christmas last year.
Right.
We'll be starting very soon to get it delivered as soon as we can. We have made a couple of little changes, particularly around the bark and the clay safety surface.
Yep.
But we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Community facilities. Water. Kevin.
Afternoon all. I'll just run through the water. In particular, you see everything is favourable for the same reasons. Money coming in from government to assist through the water reform, in particular for the water ones. The projects, before we get on to the projects, there's all the performance measures of the different schemes that we have. We see that all of those are red currently, and that's really working our way through those. Most of them are around things that we will be sorting out through our membranes and our UV plants that we've got in our LTP plus the water reform money. And the other ones are, it's not to say there's unsafe water or anything, we just can't prove it. Our telemetry's been letting us down a little bit, and we've got a pretty aggressive program on that to sort through all of those. To be fair, our drinking water assessors and that would have been a bit more accommodating with some of those minor errors, but now with Taumata Arawai and where the water reform is going, they've been very black and white on it, so we are definitely having to move through on all of those.
Very good.
The projects there, upgraded Acacia Bay. I think the letters have gone out, and some of you live in that area, Mapa or Acacia Bay. They'll be getting letters very soon, and the contractors will be starting on site within the next week or so. Omori's a clear one there, which is red as well. That's a membrane plant coming. We've got 5 plants being upgraded, and we've put the tender out for all 5 membrane plants, and that's one of them as such, for the plant, the actual membranes themselves. And the other ones there, contractor's been on site at Taupo-Kaingaroa. We've got some solutions for that one, and we're getting some stuff actually fabricated right now to deal with that issue. But if there's no other questions, I'll take water as done.
Okay, any other questions of Kevin regarding water? No? Okay, what else next? Transport. Kevin?
Yeah, it's transport there, and just the financials are all the same as before. Take that as red, but just on the projects, it's just the street lights, and we're still working our way through, and those final LED lightings for the arterial routes for our main routes in and out of town.
Wastewater.
Jim, for me.
Councillor Boddy, sorry.
Just very quickly in regards to the Hall Falls path, that's been finished.
Through Chair, yes, that's all finished.
Now, in regards to Martha Road, I think that was completed at the end of October, but we seem to be doing an extension. Was that part of the original budgeting?
No, so through the Chair, that's part of CIP money, so part
CIP money.
of other money, and it's part of the $10.6 million that we've got for curb and channel upgrades, plus the ETA pathway along the ETA, and we had some other areas, and Marlborough Road was identified in that. So we're going all the way up to the cafe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wastewater.
I think wastewater, I'll take that one, is actually read through there. The red one on Turangi wastewater is around the balance pond. That's been well articulated over the previous years. We're keeping that in there. We're still working our way through the resource consenting process for that plant and for disposal areas, and that's tied up with part of the remediation for that area. Everything else is on track, and you've approved a lot of contracts, particularly in the wastewater area, for wastewater reticulation, particularly in Kinloch. So, yeah.
Very good. Solid waste.
I'm just going to take the two solid waste and stormwater as read. They're pretty self-explanatory. Working our way through all of those projects.
Stormwater.
Okay.
Sorry. Aye,
That's all right.
Economic development. Oh, sorry. Councillor Westman. Question for you,
Sorry,
Kevin.
last minute query, just on that, the stormwater, the Brentwood culvert and the erosion control, is that down through the land? It says, mentions Tuwharetoa, but I'm thinking Brentwood culvert comes through Benton's land and down to the lake, is it?
Yeah, that's the one, yes. So it's the one through the under Acacia Bay Road. Some culverts here, and there's some other issues further down as well on the lake shore that we are working our way through with the landowners and Hapu in that area.
Very good. Economic development.
Yeah, I suppose the highlights for this month has been the, and thank you for those councillors who attended the interviews for DGLT board members. So the three candidates, one, Ray Salter, has retired, so thank you for those who attended. Thank you on behalf of DGLT for those who attended and thanked him. Nice speech, Kathy. So Ray stood down, and obviously two other candidates, all the two unsuccessful candidates have been informed, and we've just given them a bit of feedback. So the other three successful candidates have been informed and are really excited about the way forward. So I think that was a pretty good process, and just thanks ever so much for those who committed the time to that, because it is quite time consuming, some of that. That'll be the main highlight. Thank you.
Cool. Any questions of Mr. Ridd, economic development? No? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Green, and thank you to the members of the team. We have any other final questions or queries, Mr. Green? No. All right, there's a recommendation up there. I will move. Thank you, Councillor Truman, seconded by Councillor Boddy. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Carried. 4.8, extraordinary vacancy on the Turangi-Tongariro Community Board, Tongariro Subdivision.
So you've seen
Mrs.
one of
Jakes.
these previously, earlier in the triennium, so it's approving the unbudgeted expenditure of the 15,000 if there's a full election, and determining that the voting is by random.
Okay, thanks very much, Tina. Any questions or queries? Councillor Mack?
So because we've gone through this already in this term, and we had 2 bites at it, and it never came to anything, and then we obviously did the unusual thing of actually ourselves as a board recommending. Yes. What's the chances of people still, if they want to come forward, just come back to the board this time? And the only reason I'm saying that is because of the money and the fact that we're in the same term and we've already gone through this process once. Is there any way of trying to save the money but still?
No, legislation requires you to go through this process, even if you've gone through it previously. For example, if you go through this process now and you get no nominations, you can continue doing this until you can get a nomination, or you do what you did last time, which was appoint.
So that's the question, though. You're saying we still have to go through it officially once, and then we could nominate the second time if we have to? Okay.
The same process. Yeah. Is the nominations opened, have they?
Yes, they have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 11th of March.
11th of March, yeah. Okay, cool.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. I wasn't so sure if I was allowed to ask that or not. All right, thank you very much, Tina. It is what it is, and it's a recommendation up there. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Mack and seconded by Councillor Kingi. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Item 4.9, council engagements, Tina.
Again, March, as you can see, is a pretty full month, but you can remove the first two, so the public forum and the council meeting for the 2nd of March. Those have been cancelled, and we've replaced it with the one on the 9th. So just two changes to that report.
Very good. Councillor Kingi. Can you
Yes,
put your
correct.
speaker on? Sorry. Yeah.
So the 9th of March one is a additional meeting basically to adopt the LTP for consultation. Yeah.
Okay, the suggested recommendation of those meetings, a fairly full March by the look of it. Yep. So I have a mover. Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Okay, and we'll move into the competence. Oh, members' report, sorry. Jumping the gun there. 4.10, members' reports. Any members have any reports to furnish? Councillor Leonard?
Just a few things. There was a fundraiser held at River Road for Jamie Foden. It's meant that his full Keytruda treatment has been paid for with the efforts of that. There's a really successful raft race organised by the Repuroa young farmers that left Te Tōkia Road on the weekend. I've had quite a lot of communication in regards to the trees that have been felled at Wairake Village. I've been in touch with Linz, and they've come back with that they have quite a substantial plan for their land there. The Central Plateau New Zealand Dairy Industry Awards are on the 2nd of March in Rotorua. We have a number of people from our area as finalists there. There's a fundraiser at Marotiri School on the 13th of March. Should be a wonderful community event. And also out at Wairake on the 27th of March, there'll be the Monster Mountain Bike Challenge. So if anyone's free to go and support that, it would be great to see you there.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Any other reports? No, we'll just have a mover. Those reports be received. Thanks, Councillor Westman. Seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried.